Sonic Universe Issue 58 Reboot. Oh, for fuck's sake! Why did they spoil that Blaze would go super on the cover? I wasn't expecting that, and I didn't need to be spoiled on it. Well, that completely destroys the tension. Even the people naive enough to think the reboot had genuine tension would stop taking the story seriously at this point. Also, every issue in this arc has wasted panels at the start of it, with Blaze narrating in a way that recaps to the audience. She wouldn't be thinking these thoughts. She's not talking to anyone, so why would she feel the need to recap? Recap is a problem because it wastes valuable space for more plot developments or good dialogue. Speaking of padding, we see panels of the characters staring at each other before the two ships start to fire at each other. It never makes sense that they don't just fire immediately. Blaze flies up to Captain Metal threatening to kill him. I hope she will. There's no reason to keep this one-dimensional monster with ridiculous dialogue around. Metal doesn't tell us that he's immune to fire, so realistically Blaze would just immediately melt him with fire. But somehow, instead of doing that, she just sends fire at him that he can easily dodge, instead of summoning fire to appear right where his body is, or heating his body up directly. What you'd think someone with power over fire and heat would be able to do. What an idiot. She tells him that the world will fall apart if all 7 Soul Emeralds aren't together, and instead of acting like he cares about preserving his own life, Metal just says that he needs it to power his flying fortress, so he'll be hanging on to it for now. At least he said sadly. Doesn't he realize that if the world gets destroyed, he'll be destroyed along with it? How am I supposed to respect this princess as a main character if she's a complete moron? Both of these characters are morons. She tells him that the world is crumbling because there's a storm all of a sudden, and soon he'll have nothing to plunder. He has a good point when he says that the Ego War can... well, I was going to say rewrite reality so that the world wouldn't be destroyed, but somehow he thinks it can take him to other worlds entirely. So, he shocked her? And he picks her up effortlessly as she's unconscious because she's just a worthless damsel in distress in this comic. How did this happen again? How could she just not kill him with fire? There's no way Blaze wouldn't be able to send gigantic walls of fire at him that he wouldn't be able to dodge. Even in Worlds Collide, we saw her surround herself with fire and walk towards people. You telling me she couldn't do that? This just makes me angry. Who wouldn't be angry at this? And suddenly now Captain Metal can fly or hover with fire below him when he couldn't fly with a jet engine like a Metal Sonic could earlier. Well, good. He says that before he can set sail, he needs her other 6 emeralds. How does he plan to get them out of her? Where is she even keeping them? In a royal vault in the Soul Dimension, I guess, because that would be realistic. But if he's planning to try to torture the location out of her, he's never going to succeed. Captain Whisker and Johnny try to storm Amy's ship, saying that he's brought company, and Amy tells Bean and Bark to fight them. I found it oddly sweet that she told them that they're part of this crew. For once, Marine is useful because she tells Cream that she and Amy have to save Blaze and told them where she's being sent to. Let that sink in. Marine the raccoon is more useful than Blaze was. Even Marine's screw-ups were way less problematic than Blaze's. Even she never got kidnapped, twice. She gets kidnapped and has fire powers. She's like Elise. But at least Elise can create a fire bubble around her, even if it doesn't extend very far. So Elise could have handled this guy better. She could have walked towards him and burned him effortlessly. This wouldn't be nearly as frustrating if Metal explained that he's made out of the same tungsten metal that the fireproof cage is made out of. But by that point, it'd make Blaze look extremely stupid for even bothering to fight him at all. I hate how long this is being dragged out. Couldn't we just immediately cut away from Marine's ship after Amy and Cream decided to try to save Blaze? Blaze then gets told to wake up as she's restrained in the Ego War, which you'd think Captain Metal would rename. Logically, he dismissed as a really stupid name and immediately give it a name of his own. But that required creativity from a writer who's usually only an artist, and is so uncreative that he made this character. Him having crab legs from the start would have helped him feel a bit more creative, but it's pointless, because it doesn't factor into the story. I'm just constantly distracted by how unrealistic it is that he put up with all those crab legs. Do they have to have this dragged out so long with multiple panels? Couldn't we just instantly cut to her being awake in front of him? The story arc is so boring and painful. We don't need to have this overly basic plot dragged out by Blaze wasting time calling him a monster and reminding us that the Egg Award doesn't belong on his world. Why does she bother? He knows! Metal says that the emerald is giving power to this fortress, and I'm just thinking that if Blaze is allowed to call Captain Metal, like he really is supposed to be a Metal Sonic, then Tracy sure was lucky that he was allowed to make a second Metal Sonic. Because even his short form has the same name. Couldn't we have just not seen a scene like this at all? We could just cut to here, where Marine sees his Egg of War flying with fire below it that's somehow supposed to explain where the giant egg-shaped thing is hovering, when anti-gravity would work better. Johnny wastes my time being afraid of it. I don't remember Johnny being such a coward in the game. It makes logical sense, but still, is there any character that isn't incompetent in this arc? I guess Cream, but even she's been portrayed as more cowardly than she's ever been. Whisker wants to leave because of the machine, telling his pirates to leave, and Marine calls them cowards, which of course tempts Whisker into giving her ship some parting shots as revenge. Wait, I have a question. Bean was there. Why didn't he effortlessly blow up Whisker and all of his robots with his bombs? I can't imagine him being this incompetent. I guess there were just that many robots sent after him and he wasn't able to get to Whisker. My time is wasted some more as Bean inexplicably chases after robots because they're shiny and is sad at them leaving, and the robots somehow fail to hear him. Marine points out that the pirates on her crew went to Whisker, and Bean apparently scored them a submarine, which is why they aren't going to sink with the ship. For once, Marine looks sympathetic as she hopes her friends will be okay, but of course they'll be okay. They're game characters, and I already saw Burning Blaze on the cover. Captain Metal looks at Marine and says that Captain Whisker has run away as usual. Well, to be fair, I just remember that in the game, Whisker constantly ran away. And I remember because I always point out how stupid it was that Sonic never went after him and spin dashed through him. Anyways, Captain Metal uses a Soul Emerald trainer that he suddenly has for no reason. How did... Huh? The Egg of War was for the Chaos Emeralds. I guess he had a lot of time to make this thing while he was having it repaired. He's a Metal Sonic and a pirate, and all of a sudden he's able to engineer anything he wants? Blaze seems to get electrocuted as she yells at him, but at first it just looked like she was using her magical powers because she was angry. I'm expected to take Cream seriously when she stupidly stands up to him when she just calls him a big meanie, and pointlessly wastes time telling him to stop hurting Blaze. What is she expecting to accomplish? I don't even remember the games making Cream a complete idiot. Sure, I get that it's a typical hero standing up to a bad guy thing, but I can't take this shit seriously. How am I supposed to find this inspiring? Is Cream the rabbit? It turns out she was a distraction because Amy suddenly jumps towards Blaze and uses her mere hammer to break Blaze out of the machine. I really wish we were told that she swings her hammer with super strength. That's the only way this would make sense. I can imagine the metal's a lot harder than that. She's supposed to be like 12 in the games. A 12-year-old girl swinging a hammer broke that? She's gotta have super strength. But even then, we were never told she has super strength, so I doubt that ever occurred to the writers. And if she did have super strength, she would have used it for a lot more than just swinging a hammer really hard. Does she just assume that this is all she can use her strength for? Ugh. This is dumb. Well, a welding torch would take too long, and I can't imagine a convection not burning Blaze unless she explains she's immune to fire. Captain Metal looks at her menacingly, and you'd think if it was realistic, he would have attacked them. But instead, Cream puts some sort of blanket on him, or tarp, and says he needs a timeout. I guess he had a cape, and she put it over his head. Fuck it, I don't care about him enough to go all the way back to see if he has a cape as I'm typing this. None of the panels before this showed him having a cape. And what kind of sound effect for a hammer hitting him is Pico? I guess because her hammer swing is magically enough to free Blaze, it should also be believable that she's even capable of harming Metal at all. But this is Amy we're talking about. Even she humiliates him? Look at how wrong that looks. Wouldn't it have made a lot more sense if it was Amy he kidnapped at the start of the arc? Because Amy got kidnapped by Metal Sonic and CD? We've already seen Blaze get kidnapped, and we've already seen Amy get kidnapped too. It would make the most sense if Cream got kidnapped. And again, Pico is considered a proper sound effect for her hammer. Why even have Blaze put in that machine in the first place? We all know the tension was fake. She just frees her as soon as she gets there, somehow. Of course, in all the time Blaze was in the Eggo War, he would have had the time to put her in a Soul Emerald trainer, so he couldn't have not put her in there. But wouldn't it be better for an action series if she woke up before that could happen and was fighting Captain Metal the entire time? But at this point, it's impossible for me to imagine her looking cool fighting him. She just missed all of her fire attacks somehow. And I can't imagine her directly hitting him without injuring her hand or foot. Amy tells Blaze to go for the emerald while she'll fight Metal. At least Blaze has her hand on her head and one eye closed to try to look like she was inconvenienced earlier. Cream tells Amy to look out, being useful for a change, as it warns Blaze to send fire at Metal. Wow, that was an overly dark and edgy line. This guy's the definition of confused tone. He speaks with ridiculous pirate dialogue that I'm pretty sure not even actual pirates spoke with, so he's for kids, and yet he says stuff like this, and has black and red eyes. It's a comic with artificial tension where the characters can never get injured or fail at the end, but then a line like this got improved by Flynn. Everything the other writers does has to have its approval first. Ugh, anyways. I was about to say that it makes sense that Metal would melt one of his own crab legs because of his fire blast, but this just proves that he isn't fireproof, so it just makes Blaze look more incompetent because she could have melted him with fire before, but she didn't. Instead, she had to go super with Soul Emeralds before this would happen. And somehow, Captain Metal still doesn't give up hope even by this point, showing what a ridiculous excuse for a character he is. Blaze melts him completely, and Amy actually seems morally opposed to this, saying that she doesn't mess around, even though he was an evil robot, not an organic being. Then, because bullshit, somehow they hear Captain Metal taunting them anyways after he got melted. So, did he have the foresight to upload a backup of his consciousness to the internet or something? Is he talking through a loudspeaker as a result? He says he downloaded his programming wirelessly into the Eggo War. Okay, that makes sense. He says that now he is the Eggo War and they're all trapped. And he plans on ripping the Soul Emeralds from her. And inexplicably, he plans on destroying other worlds as well as hers, which was already confusing. He said he wanted to rule earlier. The writer has no attachment to this character. He can't even decide what he wants. And the tension gets hurt because he trails off. This looks like it should be a point where he's threatening, but then again, he's trapped in the Eggo War and can't do anything. And the entire time I was just wondering why Blaze doesn't use her fire powers to destroy everything threatening her and immediately get out of the situation. Unless the Eggo War is fireproof like the cage, but that'd be smart. So of course, the Eggo War isn't fireproof. To be fair, Eggman had no reason to think he'd need to make it fireproof. And Captain Metal didn't know Blaze would get free. You'd think someone able to use fire magic would be able to breathe fire too, and would have used that against Metal when she was restrained. Even in Avatar, you see firebenders able to breathe fire. Wouldn't that have been cool? So she tells Amy and Cream to escape, and a huge amount of time is wasted instead of her just instantly destroying the Eggo War with fire in one panel, because there isn't enough actual story, so they had to pad it out. We could have just immediately cut to the Eggo War falling to the ocean. Amy at least points out that even Sonic couldn't have done it better, and Cream says that she looks pretty like this. Blaze says that the Soul Emeralds are in unison and the world is stable and safe once more. Am I supposed to find this satisfying? The writer skipped past all of Blaze finding most of the Soul Emeralds. And his idea of a satisfying conclusion was another story where Blaze was fighting pirates in the ocean again, which is the laziest idea ever. And Bean wants the Soul Emeralds because they're shiny, and somehow Blaze isn't mad at them. She says that she doesn't approve of their mercenary ways, but still thanks them for having a part in bringing the emeralds back together. Bean destroyed the robot Kraken, so that saved them, and they fought some robots. That didn't directly bring the emeralds back together. Blaze getting kidnapped did. Amy freeing Blaze did. What she should have said was that Bean and Bark kept her and her friends alive, even if they're only acting in their own self-interest. Amy says that she should take a holiday, and Blaze says that while that sounds nice, she has to keep the emerald safe, because there's still a lot of evil in her world to defend against. Can't she just put the Soul Emeralds in a hidden vault? Or where did the Soul Emeralds that were circling her go? In her aura? So they'd be safe no matter where she goes. In fact, making them not safe would involve bringing them to bad guys by fighting bad guys. Can't she just have a vacation? Is the writer that sadistic? He can't even make it up to her for all the humiliation she went through? I never expected her to get kidnapped twice. Even the games didn't have her get kidnapped. Blaze says that the Soul Emeralds have the power to send them home now that they're all united. Why would they need to be united to do that? Surely it would take the same amount of power to teleport them to one place as it would to warp them to another. Blaze gets a group hug, but I'm too angry at how horrible the writing of this entire story was to appreciate it. So Blaze sends them all back to Mobius, and somehow Marine already misses them and starts crying like a baby. Are any of the jokes going to be funny? The gush your tears thing never made sense, because if you actually cried like that, you'd expel all the water from your body and dehydrate. And this isn't an anime. I really didn't need to see that disgusting plot twist that Captain Metal is still alive. Really? Why? How? Wouldn't Blaze have completely and utterly incinerated the Ego War so that nothing would be left of it? Why was she so sloppy? She can't even do that right? And I was supposed to find her awesome there? Really? This comic is just a definition of cheesy, because it expects you to care and have emotional reactions, but you don't because the writing sucks, so you have no reason to. The story ends with Amy being warped home and already saying that things seem off to her, when she shouldn't notice that anything is different. There's no reason she and Blaze would have memories of Archie Sonic. Reality was rewritten from the past up. It's not like only the present was rewritten. And why would it be? Amy somehow already knows that things are different just because the audience does. And the text box insists on calling Mobius Sonic's world because the writer hates everything Sega of America did, apparently. That's the only reason why. Because Sega isn't responsible for this crap. Sure, Mobius doesn't sound nice either. But anything's better than Sonic's world. It's Amy's world too. It wouldn't be so bad if they said Amy's world. What's the point of referencing Sonic here? Also, Blaze has never been to New Mobitropolis. Or any Mobitropolis for that matter. So why would she even know what it looks like to imagine it and bring them there? I guess the Soul Emeralds psychically read their minds and found out what their home looks like so they can warp them to it. But why are Bean and Bark with them? There's no way Bean and Bark live in the city because they do anything for money. So they'd be wanted criminals. So the Soul Emeralds knew where Amy and Cream lived, but just dropped these guys off wherever. I guess it would make sense that Amy would find this place different, because New Mobitropolis was designed based off Knothole. Mobitropolis is a completely different location, separate from Knothole, which is still standing in the reboot instead of Eggman easily finding it with flying cameras and blowing it up with bombs. So that means that the reboot Mobitropolis would be a different place that she wouldn't recognize the geography of. But still, Blaze has never been here. How could she warp someone there? Why are the Soul Emeralds sentient and not the Chaos Emeralds? With Archie Sonic, I found it so interesting that I reviewed multiple issues in a row without wanting to stop until my hands started to hurt. And not even then. Even the other M comic, I can say the same thing about that. But here, I started out with a plan to make multiple reviews in a row to get it over with. And by the end of this long, tedious endeavor, I just wanted a break. After one issue! I hope I'm not the only one who thinks this arc is stupid. How did they think it was acceptable to have Blaze get kidnapped twice? Captain Metal isn't fireproof, for no reason, so you'd think she would have easily melted him the first chance she got. I was trying to give this issue the benefit of the doubt, but I was right, this didn't need to be a 4-issue story arc. Realistically, Blaze would have just immediately melted Captain Metal at the end of the previous issue. The cover immediately spoils that Blaze will go super, destroying any tension that could have been there. Captain Metal didn't need to survive. I thought he wouldn't. He's just a robot, and he's an unlikable, ridiculous character, and he's not even from the games, so they were allowed to kill him. It was smart of him to upload himself to the Ego War just in case he got killed, but never mind, he didn't have the foresight to make it fireproof either, so Blaze destroys it, but not completely for some reason. Why would we ever want to have a sequel hook to this? We've already seen Blaze fighting pirates on the ocean. Twice by this point. You'd think it'd be obvious that if you ever want to have a story with Blaze again, it should be anywhere but that. Oh boy, I sure do look forward to seeing another rehash with the same exact setting as before. Amy freed Blaze from the soul draining machine by just hitting it once with her hammer, not even multiple times. It's not like a pirate metal Sonic is doomed to be a silly idea from the start. I thought I was going to be defending it. But it was ruined by him having stupid dialogue when nothing forced him to use that cliche. This arc sucked. It pretended to be a tense action story, but it was impossible to take seriously. Nearly every character was an incompetent joke, even the ones you'd expect to be competent. There was too much boring padding and all of it was forced. This arc was by Tracy Yardley, but it was written like it was by Flynn anyways, because it has all of his trademarked problems, complete with a continuity error. And it doesn't exactly give me hope when I see a writer other than Flynn, and it's just as bad. None of it would have happened because Blaze would have just burned all the robots to death immediately in the first issue. At least if they were organic, it would make sense because she'd feel stupidly obligated to hold back, which would realistically get her in trouble. Plus she's with Cream and Marine. Of course she wouldn't want to scare them. I'm ranting now, so... I hope most of the Reboot universe arcs aren't like this. Usually Universe is good compared to the alternative, but this was just enraging the whole way through. And I don't remember being angry at most of the story in the Rick and Morty comic, which beats the shit out of this.